Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. On this episode, let's take a look at some hidden iPhone camera tips. MacMost is brought to you thanks to some great supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There, you can read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content. So we use the iPhone camera all the time, but there are lots of little hidden tricks that you could use to take better photos.
So when taking a scenic photo with an object in the foreground, you may have heard of the rule of thirds. And that is to put the object 1/3 of the way from the left or the right and the top and the bottom of the photo. Not to center it exactly. Now what really helps you with this is using grids. And you can turn grids on by going to Settings, Camera, and then switching on Grid. With that on, you're going to see this grid that'll easily allow you to set something at 1/3. You just put it in one of the crosshairs there and take the photo and you'll know that you have that object 1/3 of the way over from one edge or the top or the bottom. So you can try it in different areas there and get a better photo than if you just took the photo with the object right in the center. Now having grids turned on also gives you a level. So if you point your iPhone straight down, you're going to see a white and a yellow crosshair. And you want to line those up as closely as you can to know that you're pointing straight down at something. Now you can take a long exposure shot with your iPhone. You can even do it while holding the phone with your hand. You don't need a tripod or anything like that. What you need to do is turn live photos on. So check out the live photos icon and make sure you've switched that on. Now take a live photo. You got a photo and a few seconds of video as well. The video is actually recording the changes from frame to frame from the photo. So now when you go into edit you can scroll up. And when you scroll up you'll see the live photos effects. And one of them is long exposure. Select that. And when you do, it's going to take all the frames and combine them there and hold things steady. So even though your hand was shaking a little bit, it's still going to have the steady parts of the photo being steady and the moving parts, like in this case the water, showing movement. This works great for waterfalls and things like that. It's an interesting effect for waves, but probably not the best use of long exposure. HDR or high dynamic range allows you to take photos that have some dark areas and some light areas and it combines them to create a great photo. But it's on by default and you may not want to have it on in all situations. If you ever want to turn HDR off you can do that here in Settings. Now once you've turned it off it doesn't mean it's not available at all. You just need to swipe to the left or up depending upon the orientation of your phone to get the extra controls. And once you get those extra controls you have a switch to turn HDR on and off manually. Now you probably know that you can apply filters to photos after you take the photo. But you can actually do it before you take the photo. You just need to bring up those same extra tools by sliding over a little bit there. And then you could tap the filters button, select a filter, and then you'll actually be viewing the scene with that filter applied. Just because you took the photo with that filter on doesn't mean you can't switch it later. You can go back into editing and switch to any filter you want or original to get rid of the filter. The iPhone 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max have the ultra wide angle lens and you can use the 0.5 magnification to switch to that lens. But even if you forget to do it you may still be able to go back and grab that image later on. Your iPhone is going to take an additional photo with the ultra wide angle lens and then when you go to edit the photo you'll see the additional data as kind of this fuzzy color around the image. Now you can actually go to cropping tools and zoom out and get back the data that you lost by taking it with the standard wide angle lens and not the ultra wide angle lens. The data is only kept on your iPhone and only for a limited time. So it's something that you can use to undo the mistake right away but you can't count on having that data later on. Now if you like taking photos that are non-standard sizes, so instead of 4x3 say a square 1x1, you could swipe to the left to bring up additional tools and then tap the ratio there and then switch to 1x1 or 16:9. 1x1 could be useful for taking pictures online or if you just like that ratio. And 16:9 is very useful if you plan on using the photo in a video later on. However, do note that you're not actually getting any more data. Matter of fact, you're cropping data out of your photo. So you may want to consider just taking a 4:3 photo all the time and then cropping it later on if you want a different ratio. You can also use a timer, which is useful for getting in your own shot. So bring up the tools and then tap the timer button, and then you can set it to 3 seconds or 10 seconds. Then it'll count down on the screen, but you also see the flashlight blink so you could see it while you're standing there. Then it'll take your photo. Using this with live photos allows you to have some leeway so you can adjust the photo later on. If it didn't take the perfect shot, you have a few seconds on either side to adjust. The 3-second timer is useful for taking selfies, so then you can extend your arm completely without having to worry about tapping the button. Your iPhone will automatically figure out focus and exposure based on what it sees, but you could set it to something more specific by tapping on a part of the image, and it will use that for focus and exposure. And then you can adjust a little bit more by swiping up and down on the little sun icon there to adjust the exposure. You could also fix the focus and exposure by double tapping on a part of the image that you see. Then you can move the camera around and it will stick with that focus and exposure even though you're changing what you're pointing at. So you can fix the focus on an image that won't be at the center of the screen. And here's one last tip. Now you may know that taking a pano is great for taking a wide image, and it's pretty easy to do. But what a lot of people don't know is you can also use a pano vertically. So here is a horizontal one. But if I simply turn my phone and I want to get more vertically, I can take a pano going up or going down. Just tap on the arrow to change direction. This can make some very difficult shots easy to get. I publish new tutorials every weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. Then hit the little bell icon to get notifications for each new tutorial.